Copper CRM is the CRM built for Google Workspace. It's officially recommended by Google, and it's designed to work seamlessly with your Gmail, your calendar, and your Google Drive. It's made for teams who already live inside Google's world. Copper's interface mirrors Google's material design, and everything from emails to meetings to Drive files sync automatically, so you're managing relationships right from your inbox. In this video, we'll talk about Copper's core features, its pricing, its pros, and its cons, and help you ultimately decide if this is the right CRM for your team. Hey, I'm Dan Lehman from SoftwareFinds.com, and for the past 10 years, I've been helping companies choose the right software for them and get it implemented and automated in their business. Come check out our website at SoftwareFinds, where we've built lots of tools to help you review and compare different software platforms to choose the right ones for your business. Let's jump into Copper. The first thing I see here is my feed, and I kind of like how this is set up compared to other dashboards. So we get our total activities. We can segment this by all activities or emails or meetings or calls. So we get that kind of data right in front of us. Over on the right-hand side, it gives us some recommendations. So the nice part about always syncing with Google is it's going to have recommendations based on what it's perceiving in our inbox. So for example, one of my contacts or my leads, it's been a while since we've communicated, and so they're recommending that we reply to them. Down below, it's giving suggestions of people we should actually add into the CRM, again, because it's tracking what's happening inside of our inbox. Under our feed, we can add tasks, and we can add any task we want, different activity types here. The part I like about activity types is that we can actually create custom activity types. So for example, if we had a demo, we could create our own demo activity type. Then we could relate this. The part I like about the related to field is that we can connect this to a person if we want. So here I'm linking it to a person record, or we could connect it to a company record if we want. And so it's just really handy how we already have that information inside the system without a whole bunch of extra fields. And this is one of the ways that Copper really makes this platform quite usable. Now, one of the ways that we can easily get new contacts or leads into the system is to have a form that we have on our website. So we can go to our form builder, and here you can choose from the existing fields that you have that we want to put on here. It's not the fanciest form builder in the world, but it certainly gets the job done. So we can add the fields that we want. From our workflow, we've got some actions, so we can say, okay, when the form submission comes in, we want to automatically create or update a people record for them. Maybe we want to have a task as a follow-up item, so we can create that as well. And then in our style tab, we can configure this so that it looks the way we want it to on the screen. Let's head here into our contact management area. So we've got people. We can segment these different ways by creating our own filters, so we can see our current customers or my people. These are ones that are already created for us, but we can create our own filters as well. Let's open up a person's record, and this is the main layout that we see when we're managing our contacts. We've got their core information over here on the side. In the center area, we can see our different activities. Again, we can log those activities, including the custom ones that we mentioned. We can create notes. We can press a button either here or here if we want to send emails directly from within the Copper interface. If we are leaving a note, we can use the @ symbol to actually refer to different users of our system. And on the right-hand side, we can track any of our related records, such as if we have any opportunities in our pipeline, as well as things like tasks, files, and events. And then here in our files, this is where we can link to files from Google Drive. And so those can display here for easy access, essentially a way to pin them. Now, so far, we've been talking about how to do everything from within the Copper web app itself. But one of the most common use cases for using Copper is that you want to be able to live inside of your email. And so in that case, we'd want to use the Chrome extension. So inside of Gmail, let's say I get an email from someone who's not already in the CRM. Well, when we open up the sidebar here, then it's going to recommend that we add it to Copper. The really cool part is that they're actually doing some data enrichment for us. So for example, all of this information is not available in this email. They're using that email address and the domain of it, copper.com, to actually enrich that data in the background, which we then can save into Copper. So here now I have that person's contact information. I've got all the information about the company as well, the address, and so that's stored with one click of a button. Then I can see any related activities. What's cool is we're already tracking this. It already synced our email. It's got information about assigning this to me and that we added this individual. And so even past emails, then we've got all of that info coming in all with that single button click. We can then see any related records, just like we were able to when we were in the web interface. Now, the other cool thing that I can do from the extension is actually open up a new email to compose to write back to this person. And because I have the Chrome extension installed, it's going to give me the ability to enable email open tracking so that when we send this out, it's got a little pixel in it. And if they open it, then we can see that in our reports inside of Copper. And we can also insert an email template. I'm just going to use a sample template here. And this is going to pull in the data that's already stored inside of Copper. Now, of course, this is a goofy first name. This was just pulled from the email domain. But assuming I had the correct information in there, we can then populate this record with any of the merge fields. So in terms of Chrome extensions, Copper's is really good. I'd say it's probably in the top 5 that I've seen. So we've got HubSpot and Salesforce and Adio all have really good ones, but it's just very easy to use, very functional. Now, the Chrome extension for Copper doesn't work just inside of Gmail. You can also use it on LinkedIn. So I can open this by clicking on the button at the top. And so here it's going to try to find information on the page about the individual, pull in their description, their LinkedIn, their job title, and then we can add them to Copper that way. Now, just as a word of caution, I believe this Chrome extension actually violates the terms of service of LinkedIn. They're not doing crazy, terrible things like scraping all of this LinkedIn data. They're just scraping the information when you're on that one screen. Yet, it's still something that LinkedIn is cracking down against. So keep this in mind if you decide to use the tool for LinkedIn. Chances are nothing's going to happen to you, but I'm not a legal expert. And so I also don't want to tell people, oh yeah, make sure you use this LinkedIn Chrome extension. Now, you can also access Copper as a mobile application. And I will say this is one of the better ones that I have seen from various CRMs. So here I've got kind of a home screen of all of my activities. I can see what's happening here. And then we've got our people and we have our companies that they work at as well. So we could go into a person record, and this is where we could manually log activities. We could send an email directly from Copper if we want to, and that will log said email. And then we can place a phone call if we want. This is going to use our own phone dialer. When I hang this up, this is going to prompt me to create a record. It's not going to record anything, but I can use this then to add my own little summary and add a task if I want to. I can log that. And then text message. This is funny because they say, hey, you can text and log these text messages. But again, it's the same thing. It's not actually sending anything useful. So if I just put in, text here, then it's going to just prompt me to say, you sent a text message. It's not going to actually insert any kind of content. So here I could add the information from the message itself, but then basically you're doing dual entry. Now, I don't expect them to really do anything differently because that would be a mess when it comes to privacy and security, but it's really not that useful of a feature either. And the last thing I'll point out here too is that if you were at like a trade show or you're meeting someone for the first time, then you can add new contacts, but you could also scan their business card. Next, let's hop back into the web application and talk about pipeline management. So here I'm inside one of my pipelines, which I've created for sales, but you can create multiple pipelines. And what I really enjoy is that they've created all of these templates that make it easy to use. And so you've got some pipelines that are more sales oriented. You've got other ones for project management. You've got customer management if you're doing some kind of renewals with customer success. And so I think they did a nice job of making pipelines easy to understand rather than just putting you into a default pipeline and none of the statuses make sense. So we can, of course, change our stages, and this is a drag and drop kind of Kanban. From here, we could also say, hey, this is automatically won or it's lost. So really easy to use. I can expand my opportunity. And so we see the details. This layout feels very similar to our contact management with the details here, any activities, and then we've got any of our related records. One of the things that's cool about their files, you remember we had a file attached to a person record before. Now we can actually see the people files. So this kind of follows us through the system rather than having to attach these documents to all sorts of different records. Now, similar to how we're looking at an opportunity, we could also manage projects, and it's going to be very similar as well. So this is pretty lightweight project management. It's not going to be a heavy tool compared to other project management systems, But if you just need a lightweight way to track inside of pipelines the movement of projects, then this is a pretty good fit. When it comes to automations, we have three kinds of automations. We've got email automations, workflow automations, and task automations. Now, I would say in most CRM systems, we would call this like sequences. So if I click on this, we can start an email automation. We can start this from certain filters that we have. So for example, people that we haven't heard from for a while. So here we have our trigger. We can choose our pipeline. Now, what's important to know is this is actually sending from the Gmail infrastructure. So I would say this is not really optimal if you're trying to do outbound email because you really don't want that to mess with your email domain. So make sure to stay within those limits. Then here we can add delays if we want to. We can send multiple emails. So we could add additional emails and wait steps. So at the end, they exit this automation. If they move to a different stage, they're deleted or they match the reply criteria. And so for reply criteria, this could be someone actually replies to an email that we sent from that template, or if they send an email or a calendar event. So we could make this more loose. So if you were trying to get them to book a meeting and ultimately they booked a meeting with you, then that could end this automation. So these are pretty good settings to have. So overall, I'm a pretty big fan of their email automation. These two, to me, though, it's kind of silly to have a workflow automation separate from task automation. Those, I think, should really just be the same thing, and they are in most other CRMs. Let's click into a workflow automation. We can add a new workflow, and then we can choose what triggers this, which record in our system. We can start it on a pipeline record, and ultimately what we want to do is if it's created, or if we update a certain field, or if it's updated or created, or we could do this on a cron. Every single day, it checks to see if some condition is true. We can add some conditionality here, so we could have different fields. If this field value equals this, then that's when we want to trigger our actions. For our actions, though, they're really limited. You can create or you can update a record, and those are the only options that we have. So probably if you want more advanced automation, you're going to have to look outside of the system to use a Zapier or use their API. I was really pleasantly surprised about the quality of reporting and analytics for Copper. Oftentimes, these CRMs that are easy to use have very few reporting options, if they have any at all. You might just get a single stock report that works for you and no other options. But Copper's got pretty good reporting out of the box. You saw that home feed dashboard initially, and then we also have pipeline reporting. I don't have a lot of dummy data in here, so it's not much to look at. But this is pretty good reporting. But aside from the standard reports, on their higher plans, they've got custom reports. And these custom reports are pretty crazy. You can start with templates and just take a look at these. So an example of our activity chart breakdown of the different types of activities. We can do sales forecasting, which is virtually unheard of in smaller CRMs like this. We could do Sales One performance. So really, you've got a lot of good options if you want to build your own custom reports. And again, these are just the templates. So I could close out of here and we could add our own from scratch as well. And take a look at this. We've got access to insights, KPIs, add our own filters. We've got all of these different fields to choose from. We can add our own ranges. So this is pretty awesome to have this level of reporting directly inside of Copper. And then on top of it all, Copper connects to Looker. And so they've got these dashboards already that you can load in if you want to create more sophisticated dashboards of your own. So kudos to the Copper team for putting together all of these different options for reporting depending on your needs. Next, let's talk about how we can customize, extend, and integrate Copper. So as I mentioned briefly, we can add custom fields. We've got a number of different field types to choose from. Connect fields we can relate to other objects in the system. We've got drop downs and multi-selects, currencies, so lots of options to choose from. And here's where we can manage those custom activity types as well if we want to create our own and add an icon to it. Now, the main thing missing here is support for custom objects. So if we were a SaaS company and wanted to track subscriptions inside of the system, we couldn't really do that. When it comes to integrations, obviously we spend quite a bit of time talking about the Google-related integrations, but they have what I'd consider to be probably a medium-sized library for integrations. So some have smaller. They're kind of in the middle here, certainly not something like HubSpot, but quite a few different options in various categories. We've got invoicing and scheduling and contacts and all those good things. And if you can't find the integration you want, you've got the option to use Zapier. So we've got a number of different trigger events when new records are created or things are updated inside of the system, and a number of actions to choose from as well, associating a project, creating different activities, creating, updating the things that you would expect. Overall, Copper's Zapier connector, I think, is stronger than probably 75% or so, especially because you can actually run searches, so you can look for objects, then you can update them. There's a lot more you can do with this kind of logic. And if you need something more robust than Zapier can provide, they also have a really solid API as well. So I guess the main thing to note about integrations is they don't try to compete in the Microsoft ecosystem. A lot of CRMs provide similar connectors for Gmail as they do Outlook, but Copper's really not going there. They're really designed for Google. Next, let's talk about Copper's pricing. So Copper doesn't have a free plan. They do offer a free trial, and then they have 4 paid plans: Starter, Basic, Professional, and Business. Starter is starting at $9 if you pay annually. Of course, you're getting a discount versus if you're paying monthly. And then it goes up to $99 per month at an annual rate. Now, to me, given the level of functionality that I see from Copper, $99 seems a little bit steep for their per-user licenses, but again, that decision is up to you. There are quite a few kind of wonky things to watch out for in Copper's pricing. Let's talk about them. The first thing is that sales opportunities are not included until you get into the professional plan at $59. That seems like a miss. This is a CRM. Why would you not offer that at the very basic plan? I don't know. Same thing with leads. They're not available until professional. Here you can see the Google Workspace integrations. Because this is so core and central to what they do, this is available on all plans with the exception of Google Sheets and Looker Studio integration. The AI features, in my mind, are nothing to write home about, but important to note that the workflow automation feature we talked about, again, is not available until professional. I don't quite understand the philosophy here to say, hey, you can have the Zapier connector and automate stuff on your own, but we're not going to let you use our out-of-the-box integrations unless you pay for professional. Those two things don't really make sense. And if you want API access, again, you need to be on professional. Do you sense a theme here on how you need to be on professional? Yeah, you can get access early on to some of the features, but you're really pushed to upgrade to that professional plan. So we get into communication, bulk email, professional. Email automation, professional. Email open tracking, professional. Email click tracking, go to their most expensive plan on business plan. Why? For email click tracking? I just don't understand. Email series, you want to be able to send sequences of emails? Most expensive plan. This one kills me. If you use their contact forms to remove Copper branding, you could be paying them $60 per user per month and still have Copper's branding on that. What? I mean, you could buy a form builder, separate tool, and be paying way less with no branding on there. So this is really crazy. You want customizable pipelines or use the templates, then you need to pay for basic. Projects, you need to pay for basic. Virtually any of the reporting here, you need to be on professional, and custom reports on business. So overall, you can see, even though there's a low barrier to entry, you can access Copper for a relatively small amount of money. You have to pay $59 per user per month or more if you want to access the bulk of the functionality of the system. And so that takes us to the importance of comparing these platforms against one another. That's what we do on our website here at softwarefinds.com. So we can scroll down and see that Copper is currently listed at number 5. This is subject to change over time because we're doing lots of new reviews. And all of these platforms have amazing things about them and things that really aren't so great. And that's the same thing with Copper. So we can see from a value standpoint, value, we mean the quality of the features that we get for the price. They're kind of in the middle here. Impact, this is going to be essentially, does this scale up? If we have larger teams and we want to pay and use all the features, does that scale up well? Again, kind of in the middle compared to other platforms. Configurability, this is pretty decent. There's some limitations around this, especially when it comes to custom objects. Ease of use, this is a big winner for Copper. Very easy to use, very easy to onboard, and they are very transparent about their pricing. But what I'd really encourage you to do is come to the website yourself, because you can plug in the different category weights that are important to you. So if you say, hey, ease of use is like the most important thing to me, well, that's going to shift how these rank. And so you can put in a couple different categories and see how these all stack up. The other thing you can do is check out these charts to see how platforms look against one another. So for example, if we were looking at value against configurability, here we've got Copper kind of in the middle. If we were to change this from value to something like ease of use, now we can see they're a pretty big contender. So So just a nice way to be able to compare different tools. So who is Copper CRM really for? Copper is going to be great for you if you are small to smallish medium business. If you live out of Google Workspace and maybe you were managing a CRM just on spreadsheets, then this is going to feel right at home. Their Chrome extension is awesome, and it makes it easy to be able to identify and log contacts and their activities. On the other hand, if you use Microsoft tools, if you're looking for more complex data structuring needs with custom objects, or you need stronger automations, or you're looking for an all-in-one system that includes marketing automation, then Copper is probably not the best fit. Hopefully this helped you figure out if Copper is the right fit for your team. If not, feel free to check out our other review and comparison videos.